The preparations, strategies, and dangers of the Great Mammoth Hunt.
A world covered in endless grasslands, where icy winds sweep across the earth and cowering beasts roam in herds that shake the ground beneath their steps. This is the Ice Age, a time when survival is a daily battle, when tribes of early humans live not in certainty but in constant negotiation with nature's harsh demands. Among all the challenges they faced, one task stood above the rest in both glory and terror: the Great Mammoth Hunt. A mammoth was no ordinary prey. It was a giant, 12 feet tall at the shoulder, weighing more than 6 tons, with curved tusks like ivory scythes. To kill such a beast meant food, hides, and bones enough to sustain the tribe for weeks, perhaps months. But to fail, to miscalculate, meant crushed bodies, shattered hopes, and the bitter taste of hunger. The preparations began long before the first spear was thrown. The hunt was not an act of desperation, but of careful planning, strategy, and unity. Picture the tribe gathered in a circle, the firelight dancing across determined faces. The elders spoke first, sharing memories of past hunts, victories and tragedies alike. Their words carried warnings: never face a mammoth alone, never underestimate its rage. The hunters listened, their hands resting on their weapons, spears tipped with stone, hardened by fire, wrapped in sinew. Each weapon was more than a tool, it was a lifeline. Then came the planning. Who would strike first? Who would drive the beast toward the chosen ground? Who would wait in hiding to cut off its escape? The hunt was like a dance, each step rehearsed in the minds of the hunters long before they moved in the flesh. Women and children played their roles as well. Some prepared rawhide ropes and carried water. Others sharpened tools and readied hides for carrying meat. Even the youngest, too small to fight, were told the importance of silence, for one cry at the wrong moment could spell disaster. The night before the hunt was heavy with tension. Fear whispered in every heart, but so did hope. They prayed, not always to gods as we know them, but to the spirits of the land, to the soul of the mammoth itself. They asked for strength, for courage, and for the chance to return home alive. And then at dawn, the hunt began. The tribe moved silently through the frosted grasses. Every step was deliberate, every breath held as if the earth itself might betray them. Ahead, the herd of mammoths grazed peacefully, unaware of the storm about to unfold. Their shaggy coats glistened with frost, their trunks swung lazily, and the steam of their breath rose like smoke against the cold sky. The hunters waited for the signal. The plan was not to attack the herd outright. That would be suicide. Instead, they sought a single target: the old, the weak, or the injured. Their eyes scanned for signs: a limp, a slower step, a mammoth straying too far from the protection of the herd. Finally, one was chosen: a massive bull, aging but still powerful, a dangerous foe, yet vulnerable enough to bring down if the tribe worked as one. The first cries rang out, sharp and wild, as hunters revealed themselves, waving torches and shouting. The herd trumpeted in alarm, the ground shaking as dozens of mammoths thundered away in panic. But the chosen bull hesitated, torn between flight and fury. That hesitation was the hunter's opening. They drove it toward a natural trap, a patch of marshy ground where the earth was soft and treacherous. Spears flew, striking thick hide but not piercing deeply enough to kill. The bull roared, swinging his tusks like deadly scythes. One hunter stumbled, nearly crushed beneath the beast's massive foot, but another dragged him clear in the final heartbeat. The air was filled with chaos: dust, trumpeting cries, shouts of hunters, and the pounding of hooves. Spears rained again and again, each one a risk, for to come too close meant death. The mammoth fought with a desperation born of survival, blood steaming against the cold air. But slowly, relentlessly, the tribe pressed on. Their strategy was not speed, but endurance. They wore the beast down, forcing it to stumble, bleeding it until its great strength began to waver. Hours might pass in such a struggle, with the hunters circling like wolves, each strike weakening the giant bit by bit. And then, at last, with one final cry, the mammoth collapsed. The ground shook as its body struck the earth. Silence fell for a heartbeat, an almost sacred stillness. Then came the shout of triumph. The tribe had done it. They had faced the giant and prevailed. But the story did not end there, for with victory came responsibility. The hunters knelt by the fallen beast, some touching its tusks, others laying hands on its still warm flank. Thanks were given, not only for the meat that would sustain them, but for the sacrifice of a life that allowed their own lives to continue. The work began immediately. Knives of stone sliced through thick hide. Children ran to gather wood for fires. Women prepared to carry heavy loads of meat. Nothing would be wasted. Hide for clothing and shelter, bones for tools, sinew for rope, tusks for carving. The mammoth's death became the tribe's survival. And when the tribe returned to their camp, laden with the gifts of the hunt, there was more than food and warmth to celebrate. There was pride. There was unity. For every member of the tribe knew they had stood together against the greatest of dangers, and together they had overcome. This is the power of the Great Hunt. It was never just about survival. It was about courage, strategy, and trust. It was about facing fear and transforming it into strength. It was about knowing that alone, a human was small and fragile, but together, with the tribe, they were mighty enough to bring down giants.